Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this week's conversation. I am here with my girl, Taylor.
Hey, guys.
And we had just the sweetest guest on today. We cannot wait for you guys to listen to all of his wise words and his story. We had on Erickson Corbin, who is a filmmaker in Florida. He has seen huge amounts of success in just 6 years. He started his business in 2017. It is always so inspiring to me, as he's been had a career half the time as the age of our business at 13 years, and just to see the level of events that he's doing. And he gave us some really great tips as to how he acquired that success. What were some of the things that he looks back on that were key takeaways that have gotten his business to where he is now? And I don't know, Taylor, what did you think about our talk today?
Yeah, no, I loved it, and I think it is, just like you said, so fun to hear people who have found success in a short amount of time, because I think that so many people out there do have big dreams and goals for themselves, but sometimes they think okay, well, yeah, that's going to be my 10 or 15-year goal, and it's it doesn't have to actually take that long. You can grow really quickly in this industry if you are strategic about it. And he's a really great kind of case study, if you will, on how that can work. And that's actually what we're talking about in our mastermind right now. We just finished week 7, I think, of our mastermind that we're doing. We had on Chris with Storybox Cinema come speak, and let me just say, between listening to Chris and then to Erickson within a 2-hour span, I'm just so excited. I want to go do all the business growth action items. But if you guys are listening and you want to hop on the wait list for when we come out with Mastermind again, we do plan to launch at the end of February 2024, and the seats filled up really quickly with this last go around. So if this is something you're interested in doing, go hop on that wait list. It'll be linked in the show notes, and on if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description box below. But we do recommend that if you want to secure a spot in our mastermind.
I'm not even kidding. We basically sold out within 36 hours, I want to say. It was less than 2 days. And we had to add on 5 more spots after that because we felt like people were banging on the doors to get in. So we were okay, you know what? Let's do 5 more. And I love the size that we have right now. We have just over 30 filmmakers, 31, 30. And
it was 30 people in Mastermind, and then we had a VIP spot filled, so they're pushed us to 31.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yes.
I was wondering how we landed over 30, but it's been honestly such an incredible experience. The perfect size. And so, Taylor, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I would definitely do this same size again.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's perfect. It's enough people for it to be a fun, dynamic community, but it's still super small so that no one is lost in the shuffle, everyone's voices are being heard and questions are being answered, and it's just a whole lot of fun. But yeah, we won't keep you guys waiting too long. We know you want to hear all about Erickson and what he's done to find success in the wedding industry. So without further ado, here is that interview. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help filmmakers level up their businesses and their craft so they can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's conversation. Taylor and I have a great guest on the podcast today, Erickson Corbin. Is it Erickson Corbin Films? Or do you have a official name?
It's just Erickson Corbin right now. So yeah, it's a DBA under my LLC. So yeah.
There we go. So it's such an incredible filmmaker. Taylor and I were oohing and aahing over your beautiful work. You do some of the most incredible events. Your portfolio is truly inspiring and amazing. And we are excited to talk to you about your journey and specifically how to make the most of leveraging these big weddings that come your way year after year. So can you, for those listening, can you give a little bit of insight on where you're based and kind of the market that you're currently serving?
Yeah, so I'm based in West Palm Beach, Florida. That's about an hour north of Miami for those that aren't familiar. Mostly serving the local market, so between Vero Beach, which is north of here, all the way down to Miami. But most of our weddings are right here in the Palm Beach market. And then also serving a few destination weddings a year as well. So this spring we had weddings in the Bahamas, in Mexico, Chicago. But again, probably 75% of our weddings are local to South Florida.
Awesome.
That's a great split. Like just enough to kind of get your like creative juices flowing with something a little different, but you still get to sleep in your bed like 75% of the time. That feels really nice. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Nothing beats driving 15 minutes home after a long wedding day. So
I'm jealous. You and Kelly both have like great local markets, and I'm like a minimum 2-hour drive. I'm like, oh.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you're like either Tahoe or Napa, right, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm like right in the middle, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It's still a great spot, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it's always like the grass is greener on the other side. I have really been loving destination work. I feel like I have exhausted all of my creative juices on the surrounding area. We've really heavily shot in the Orange County market for so long, and also LA and some San Diego. So anytime we get a little bit of a chance to even go up to Santa Barbara, it's kind of life-giving for us to kind of dip into that market too. So it's fun to be able to make some changes, and I'm sure, Erickson, you feel the same way when you get a little bit of destination work back in your blood, back in your portfolio. It always feels nice to,
Yeah, no, I love doing the destination stuff. I mean, every time I kind of go back and forth, like once it's all said and done, it feels very exhausting, like the travel and being away and everything. But it is exhilarating. Well, maybe exhilarating is not the word, but like it's refreshing to like shoot in a new area and just new scenery. So I definitely like it, but most of my referral network is still local. So that just happens to be, most of my weddings right now. But it's not necessarily like, I think, Taylor, you've said before, like you prefer to stay local. I don't have like a strong preference about it. It just kind of happens to be how it falls right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of what your current business looks like? Like, what are you charging? Things like that. How many weddings are you taking? And then we can kind of hear a little bit about your journey on how you got to where you are.
Yeah, for sure. So this year I think my goal is to cap at 20. But right now I have an Excel sheet pulled up over here on my main screen. So I think, so now I have 24 on the books, and it's I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I feel like in the past few months, like I've had a lot of last minute bookings for this fall. Actually, I booked 2 last minute weddings for September, like in the past month. So it's been hard my spring was really busy. My fall was a little bit lighter than the spring. So I was, happy to take on a couple more weddings for this fall. But next year, definitely trying to pull back a little bit, closer to 15. And then again, if we take on a few more, that's totally fine. Starting price right now is $10,000 for just wedding day, highlight film, and a teaser. And then it goes up from there for, ceremony and speeches, rehearsal dinner, welcome party coverage, etc. Average bookings between 12 and 15 for most weddings this year. And then next year, still around the same point, but considering a slight increase here soon, just with how many weddings I already have on the books for next year.
Good for
awesome.
you.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
That is so amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have you what year is this for you? What season? So I
shot my first wedding in December of 2017. But those first few years were really, really light. Like, again, I only shot 1 in 2017, 3 in 2018, 7 in 2019, and then 2020 was kind of my first like full wedding season where I had a lot of weddings, 21 weddings, which was also the year that, you know, the pandemic hit. So it was nice timing for that. But yeah, so I always get confused like telling people how many years I've been doing it. It's like technically 6, I guess, but it doesn't really feel like 6.
Amazing. And you have just seen such incredible growth then. Over 6 years, you're consistently booking in the 5 figures. Again, like if everyone needs to go give Erickson a follow. His feed is filled with beautiful, inspirational work. And yeah, we'd love to just talk about how you feel like you've gotten to the place that you are in now, with a full season, even an overflow of weddings, it sounds like. I mean, Taylor and I, we are taking like a slower year. We only have 11 this year, so 24. I mean, that's a big full year. Are you actively shooting all 24 of those, or do you have a team? Kind of walk us through how that looks, how everything's structured.
Yeah, so I will be shooting 23 of those 24 weddings. One of those September weddings, I actually hired an associate, or the couple hired an associate package that I offered them for that wedding, which would be cool. I'm excited to experiment with that. It's a team that I fully trust, and they've shot a wedding for me in the past. So, but yeah, for the majority of those weddings, I'll be there as the lead videographer, and yeah, still editing. Again, most of those weddings myself, so it's a lot for sure.
Wow, that's a lot. So as you've kind of formed your team, how does that look with you bringing on second shooters, third shooters? Are you primarily working with a team of 2, 3? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so primarily a team of 2. I actually don't ever like book a team of 3, or I haven't had an event yet that felt like, oh, we definitely need, 3 videographers that I would include in the proposal. So all of my proposals include 2 videographers, and then I'll kind of evaluate as the wedding gets closer. Once the planner sends the timeline and all of the logistics for the day or the weekend, I'll evaluate myself and say, do I need to bring in a third videographer for the day? And most of the time it's not for the whole day. Usually it's just a half day. I've kind of found like an hour before the ceremony through cocktail hour is usually a pretty good time of the day to have a third videographer there, just to help with transitions and logistical transitions, moving from different venues, or maybe I'm away doing portraits, I need someone to cover cocktail hour, and there's going to be limited time to capture reception details before guests transition to the reception. So I'll evaluate that on each wedding as it gets closer and see if it's worth bringing in a third for certain aspects of the day.
Yeah. I think Taylor and I have talked about this before, and Taylor, you brought on a third where you felt like you could really leverage some like higher production value, and more like you could really wow and make this film so much more complex, I don't know if I'm saying the right word, but more well-rounded with a third.
Yeah.
I would say for anyone listening, that's something to think about too. Maybe it doesn't always feel like you need a third, but like think about where that film could go if you had brought on a third. I know that we've had weddings this year, specifically that huge 4-day one that we did earlier this year, and we definitely could have used a third, even just someone to just fully run drone and maybe do audio for us. That would have been huge. So I think as you're looking at things that are going to be like big portfolio pieces for you, maybe a third is something that you might want to consider.
Yeah,
for sure. And drone's a big thing, like you mentioned. Like that's one aspect that it can be hard to handle with 2 videographers in those important moments. Even during ceremony, I know it's really popular to have like cool drone shots during the ceremony right now, and it's like that's pretty hard to pull off with only 2 videographers if you're capturing the the groom's reaction, the bride coming down the aisle, and then also wanting that third angle with the drone. So, and there's depending on the wedding, there could be multiple things happening where it's helpful to have that third videographer to operate the drone.
Yeah. We love talking about like leveraging some of these like larger events or really great opportunities that may come around so that we can like use them as almost like a springboard to further our career so that next season looks even better, to attract more eyes to our work. So I would just love to like start a conversation with you, because I think you probably do this so well, of identifying these weddings that can be like almost like career advancing weddings, you know, like we all know, we all have them. We all can look at our calendar to be like, oh, it's going to be this one, this one, this one this year. And what your mindset is like, what your process is like to make sure you're kind of, honestly, like just leveraging them the best that you can, getting the most out of them instead of, I don't know, like kind of I say letting them flop is like, that's a little extreme, but how do you make the most of these opportunities that come your way?
Yeah. I think it's going into those weekends knowing like, okay, this is going to be a grind. Like this is not going to be comfortable or easy to get through in a way that like I know it deserves, or not deserves, but like you said, it's like if you don't put in that extra work, then you're kind of letting that that opportunity pass by with the engagement on that event. If it's with a big wedding planner, it's like, you know, they're going to be posting about it immediately after the event, unless, you know, they're waiting to get it published or something. But so what does that look like? It looks like really late nights after welcome parties, putting together edits to be posted the next morning. After the wedding, it's getting the teaser done as soon as possible, exporting individual clips for the planner or their social media manager to put together their own content. I think that's the main thing. It's just like, there's a lot of days where I'll show up on the wedding day and all of the bridesmaids and the planner are like, how did you get that done already? And it's like, well, I stayed up until 2 a.m. last night before your wedding day to get that done. And it's like, I don't think it takes away from my ability to capture their wedding day well. It actually gives me some excitement too, going into the day knowing that they're really excited about just a small snippet that we captured, the night before. I hope that makes sense, but yeah, I feel like that's practically what it looks like. It's just like late nights and putting in the extra work when necessary.
Yeah. And everything's going to be more exciting when it's fresh, right? And especially when you think about you delivering this great content to the creative team, they're most excited about it because maybe it's also their best wedding of the year. And maybe they have, they're ready to share what's new and fresh. They, not once a wedding is 3 months old and 6 months old, like most of them, unless it's like a celebrity wedding or it's something like that, like they've kind of moved on and they're working on the designs for, fall 2023, they're not still stuck back in spring 2023. So if you're not turning around those edits quickly, there's a very high likelihood that it's going to get kind of, swept under the rug, or it's just going to be kind of like lost in the hustle bustle of all that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to add on that. I remember...
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a question for you. So when you are putting these together for the planner and for the client, so you're delivering them to both, are you delivering the same teaser to the client and the planner, or are they a little bit different from each other? One is more client focused, one's more design focused, or is it a blend of the two?
Welcome party, rehearsal dinner, teaser, I'll usually use a song that I know is important to them or that they like it, whether they put that on a questionnaire I send, or if I know it's a song that is their first dance song or they're entering the reception to. I'll put together like a 15 to 30 second teaser, and I'll invite the planner as a collaborator on that on the wedding day. Just to take away any barriers to it getting posted, basically. Because if I send it to the planner the morning of the wedding, it's like they have enough going on, like maybe posting to social media, if they don't have somebody managing social media, like isn't really going to be feasible. So, but it's easy for them to just see that it was posted and accept the collaboration. So that's kind of the process for welcome party, rehearsal dinner, teasers. And then in terms of the wedding day teaser, I am sending the planner and the couple the same teaser. I'll format it vertically for, For both of them, I give the couple the option, like, hey, you can post it vertically or, you know, horizontally how it was originally created. It's up to you. So I give them both options for the planner. I'll send them the vertical option, and then usually let them post that and invite me as a collaborator. But I'll also just communicate with them and say, hey, do you have a preference on this? Sometimes they prefer us to post it, and I'll just invite them as a collaborator. And then once I'm done with the wedding film, something I'm starting to incorporate now is like then putting together a few additional teasers for the planner, of kind of what I viewed as like cool parts of the day. So of course, like a details focused reel with reception details, ceremony details. I shot a wedding this spring that had aqua lilies there with like the synchronized swimmers. So I put together like a separate reel of that for the planner. And then they also just had like a really fun party with an Hora Loca, which is big in South Florida, and fireworks and stuff like that. So those were kind of like 3 key points of the day for that wedding that I was like, you know what, this is pretty easy for me to just take the selects that I already have in the wedding film, put them on separate timelines, put a new track to it, or even use some of the tracks that I use in their full wedding film, because that's not going to get posted to social media, and then just, you know, export those for the planner. As additional pieces of content. They loved it, and so I think that's something I'm going to try to, you know, start incorporating into my workflows once the film is finished, being able to just pull those sections for the planner.
Yeah, I think that's so smart.
Yeah, as we say the same thing. No, I think it's so smart. And there's a wedding planner out here in California based, but does events all over, Brooke Keegan, and she was talking about how one of her video connections that she works with regularly, she says that like sometimes she'll just get a random text from him with like a video, and he's like, here, I made this for you. And she's like, that's like such a great way to be like, remain top of mind, and to, you know, let that planner know that you still exist and you enjoy working with them, and, you know, all of that. So you know, really recycling the content that you have is a huge way to leverage future relationships, and to keep, and to just remain memorable. You know, I think sometimes as filmmakers, we're like, how can we be memorable to these to these planners, right? They work with a huge team, and, you know, we really want to stand out so that they're someone that we come to again and again. And honestly, like, having that content for them too is huge, so that they know that you really took the time to care about the design that they did in their work.
Yeah. And one question we get a lot, actually, if you guys are not already in our Facebook group, go ahead and hop in. That's a community for wedding filmmakers. It's just like level up community. One question that we see pop up a lot is, hey, this like planner asked for Instagram content. They asked for reels. How much should I charge for that? And Kelly and I are like, no, don't charge them. Like, give it to them for free. Like, that's your marketing. Like, that relationship is going to do more for you than any like directory. Like, if you like are a member on the Knot or something, you know, any of those will ever do for your business. Like, please give it to them for free. Like, serve, come at it from like a service, like, attitude, and like that will do wonders. Like, people like to work with like people who, sorry, but like give a, you know what I mean? So yeah, just totally. In that giving mentality for sure. Yeah, never really charging for things like that. And I spent my Saturday, actually I had Saturday off, and I texted Taylor and I was like, I'm spending my Saturday creating cover films for various planners. Like, because a recent planner of ours just went through a fresh rebrand, and I texted her, and I'm like, hey, like, can I create something in case you want any like movement for your website, or, you know, things like that. I'd love to. We had an event together last year, and she actually used that wedding as like her cover photo. So I'm like, I know that like that means like that was a big one for her, and so I'd love to like put that together. So I spent Saturday putting together that for her, and then one for another planner that had asked for it, and they're always so sweet. And that other planner actually was like, let me pay you, I'd love to. And I'm like, no, like, just let me do this for you. I'm always like, it's very easy, it's no big deal, even though it is a little bit you know, it takes some time, but, you know, no big deal.
Right. Yeah, and I think like a lot of planners aren't going to ask for it. But it was really eye-opening for me. Like the first time I had a planner that was like, it wasn't her, but she had hired somebody to do social media for this event, and she reached out and was like, hey, this is what we need from you. And that's when it kind of opened my eyes, where it's like, it would be awesome if every planner just told us exactly what they wanted from the event in terms of like video coverage for them, but they're not always going to do that. But like having that experience, it's like, okay, if this person's telling me that they want it, that means that all of these planners would really appreciate like that same level of service and same content from the weddings that we work together.
Well, this brings us to our luxury insider tip of the day, brought to you by Wedding Post House. I love Wedding Post House, and I'm so happy that Brady with Huff Wedding Films created this awesome service for filmmakers. It is a choline and multicam syncing service that works whether you edit in Premiere, Final Cut Pro, or DaVinci Resolve. And it is so cool because you can send in their stuff, they get it back to you within a week, and then you have everything all synced up on a timeline. They've pulled the best of all of your clips, so they've culled everything for you. It's color coded on one timeline. You can pick and choose and regain that creative control while, just kind of pulling that weight of the backlog that I think all of us are probably feeling right now. I've honestly loved implementing Wedding Post House into my own workflow, and we would love for you guys to give them a try and just see how amazing they are. And they have graciously given us a code, which is all lowercase, level up 10 for 10% off of their services. Erickson, can you share what your luxury insider tip of the day would be for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So my luxury wedding insider tip of the day is to just constantly evaluate your pricing throughout the year and every season. You have to remember that we're constantly growing both in our network, but also our work is getting better throughout the year too. So you have to look ahead at the following year or even the later half of your season and say, how many weddings do I have booked? Even looking at each month, like I think it's okay to charge more for weddings in a certain month if you already have 2 weddings booked for that month, let's say. Of course, this is dependent on like what your booking goals are. It's not going to be the same for everybody. But for me, if I have 2 weddings booked in a month, I'm not really super eager to book 3 or 4 weddings in a month. It's just a lot. I mean, I will do it, and I did it twice this spring season, but it's like looking ahead into 2024, if I have 2 weddings booked in a month, I'm going to evaluate my prices and potentially send increased rates for those proposals. So again, just looking ahead at your season, the following season, how many weddings do you have booked? How many weddings are you trying to book? And then maybe every few weddings you're going to increase your rates, or maybe it's for certain months, certain parts of the year. It's going to be dependent on you, where you are in your market and your network, but that is my tip of the day.
I love it. It is so true. I think that us as filmmakers, we are business owners. That's the coolest thing, right? We can do whatever we want with our pricing and how we structure things. And I think that sometimes there's no rule book. I love Taylor always uses this rule book analogy. There's no rule book to how we have to do things. If you think about it, hotels, if you look at their fiscal year and their calendar, their rates are more expensive for Labor Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend, their peak season versus like maybe, off season or midweek or things like that. And we can absolutely, if that serves you in your business, you can do that too. So don't shy away from using that pricing. We know, Paul and I ourselves, that every single Memorial Day we're going to be booked out. Our rates for Memorial Day are going to be a little bit more because it's a high demand date. So something to just consider, maybe for your 2024 year for those listening or watching on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
So good. Well, as we kind of wrap up this episode, Erickson, are there any other tips or pieces of advice that you would like to share that maybe helped you get to where you are today in a pretty quick timeline? I mean, I think you and I started the same year, and I love watching people who have grown the same trajectory as me. So if there's anything that stands out that you would love to share, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think the things that got me to where I am today, and it's obviously we're all still on a path, but it's just putting yourself out there and doing things that might not seem glamorous at the time, but everything is connected. And it's like, I look back at the first year that I had quit my job to do this full time, and I was like, I had enough booked to obviously quit my job, and like I didn't do that, off the cuff, but I was also trying to secure as much work as I could through commercial work and second shooting, along with the weddings that I did have booked. And so I remember reaching out to other, wedding videographers offering to second shoot. And I remember driving like 3 hours to second shoot for this videographer for like not very much money at all, like next to nothing. And that connection, I then second shot for him again in Miami. And he ended up referring me like a year later, my top wedding to date, which has led into so many other opportunities and connections. And I think if I would have had an ego at the time of, in regard to like how much I was getting paid or my role in that wedding, I wouldn't have made that connection and then had the opportunities that came from it. And even before that, I remember shooting this networking event, which was a planner's luncheon, which at the time I didn't realize. I mean, coming into the wedding industry, I had no idea like what the wedding industry even was, or like how big it was, or the possibilities within it. So I was shooting some pretty low budget weddings, obviously at the beginning, and I had a planner ask me to come shoot this luncheon at a new venue in town. It was like it's like a barn venue. So I did it for free and I met like a few planners while I was there, but I wasn't super like social. I was just kind of doing my thing, filming the event. But I met one planner who I don't even remember meeting. And then she reached out like the following week with a wedding that needed a videographer on Palm Beach. And like the area that I live in, West Palm Beach is the city, Palm Beach is the island. And that's kind of where all of the really expensive weddings are in general. I mean, the whole local market is really good, but weddings on Palm Beach are kind of on another level. And a venue that I wouldn't really view as luxury, but I met this planner who's turned into a great connection and friend and has sent me tons of work, all from doing this event video for free. So again, you never know where those things are going to lead to, and when you're just starting, or even when you're not just starting, like I still do favors for planners that I know are going to continue to build those relationships, and you just never know where it's going to lead.
Yeah, you just never know. And then sometimes when you connect the dots on where things came from, it's pretty wild to realize like maybe that all turned around like years and years ago. Like from like we've had that in commercial work, like that side of the brand, doing a video for $1,500 that then turned into a $25,000 project for a hotel, just because the two like creative directors knew each other, but that was over a span of like so many years. And then I was actually just putting the dots together of the wedding that we did, which is like the biggest of our career, with Jose Villa earlier. And the planner that hired us for that was because we were asked by another wedding planner to go and speak at their workshop, and it was unpaid, and we were like, yeah, sure, we'll go and speak at the workshop, it's fine. But we were able to speak in front of all these like newer planners just starting out with like budding careers. And that now, that was like 3 years later, so not too much time, but 3 years later she remembered us coming and speaking and was like, they're really cool, I want to hire them when I get a chance to get a client with this budget, like I'm going after them. And like then it turned into like a huge wedding, not only for her career but for our career too. Yeah, it's incredible. I love connecting the dots. I think it's so fun, and like it's just encouraging to know that like the decisions you've made that felt small at the time, I guess that's it, it's like those decisions in the moment feel very small, but you just never know the impact that they're going to have down the road. Absolutely. Well, Erickson, thank you so much for, coming on the podcast this week. And we have absolutely loved watching your business grow. I feel like anytime I see you post something on Instagram, I am so just entranced with just the beautiful cinematography. You're honestly so talented. And I love your style, and the events that you're doing are so dynamic. So, just honestly keep up the great work. And where can people who are listening, yes, of course, where can our listeners find you? Like, what's your website, your Instagram, all those things?
Yeah, so it's all just at Erickson Corbin. That's Erikson. I have a name that's commonly misspelled, so there's no C in there. But yeah, that's at Erickson Corbin on Instagram. If you want to see full film, it's my website. It's just ericksoncorbin.com. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Erickson. We hope that you have a great rest of your season, and hope to connect with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you both for having me on.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more filmmakers just like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it on social media. Don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.